And so I'm going to get started right now. And it is January 18th, 2021. Welcome and happy Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I'm thrilled that you're here. And I, decided to do this masterclass quite last minute, just seeing all that's happening in our world this year, last year. It's just been riding this tsunami wave of change. And I just want to say that you are truly heroes for being here. And because I know that growth is not an easy thing, change is not easy. And yet, that's the purpose of human life here on this planet. And I'm really excited to share with you both the practical how-tos of creating your 90-day plan, as well as how to execute it like a yogi CEO. Now you might be wondering, like, what's a yogi CEO? And it just came to me, the term, and it's what I really envisioned was someone who's able to stay calm amidst turbulence, during uncertain times, during volatile times, someone who's able to be very resourceful during trying times, someone who sees the need of the hour and is able to deliver it and be a beacon of support for others, all the while going deeper and higher inside and staying connected to higher guidance and see the big picture, right? And a yogi is someone who can rise above the chaos to stay detached in compassionate watchfulness. And I tell you, really, we are at the poised at the brink of another huge tsunami wave of shifts and turbulence. And so this compassionate watchfulness, this detachment will be so important so that we can be resourceful, and so we can be in safety and at the same time continue to focus on where we want to go. So these, I think, are very important for a CEO, right? Not just a yogi, but someone who's a leader of organization, a business, especially in this era of massive disruptions, right? So I have a question for you. One is, what's the single most valuable thing that has the power to change your reality? Type it in the chat for me. This is a little bit of a riddle, but what's the single most valuable thing that has the power to change your reality? Let me see if I can see the chat here. Just closed it. Just finding your chat box here. Determination. Yeah, that's very good. Anyone else? I gave the way in this panel here. So now determination is great, but it is your attention, because if you think about it, only when you pay attention to something does it have a reality of its own, isn't it? Right? So yes, mindset, but I believe it's really like it's even more basic than mindset. Like it's the power of your focus. So I want you to say this with me like an affirmation. My focus is creative. My focus is creative. What you focus on is that focus is the power that creates words. And recently I was listening to a podcast and I heard this phrase that kind of caught my attention. It is ambient suffering. And when I heard it, I kind of stopped and thought, that's an interesting combination of words. And then I started to realize that, wow, like this is something that so many of us are suffering from right now. It's not the suffering of hunger or abject poverty like you see in India or Africa. And those are heart-wrenching too. But this ambient suffering is the suffering of the affluent. Our suffering is caused by how we use our focus and the lack of awareness of how we have been using it, right? It's this kind of passive focus. And so we allow patterns of thought to dwell inside our heads, and feelings of ambient depressions set in, and we don't know what's causing it. Have you ever experienced this? Just type it in the chat for me if you've experienced like this, what would be described as ambient suffering, right? It's like, it means we need to wake up and take control of our focus as our reality making mechanism. And you have agency over your life, right? We've got to protect our focus and direct it to what we want to experience and create. And so I tell you, it is the perfect timing because this week we're going to see major headlines, and I think it's going to be, it can be very, very disturbing. And so I want you to brain tattoo this, that, your attention is creative. And so if you want peace, we will have to shut some of that news out so that we can insulate ourselves enough to create that inner state. And we are living in this era of massive distractions as well as massive disruptions, the 2Ds, right? And this is a masterclass for courageous visionaries. And the best way to accelerate your learning of anything is not just to learn the information, but to be it, to embody it, act as the visionary. So step into your visionary self, your identity as a visionary self. And if you could take a moment to, block out the distractions, if you have, Facebook feed or whatever else you've got going on. And we know that multitasking doesn't really work. So might as well, let's do practice what we are learning, because information goes in the one ear and out the other, and if we don't embody it, ground it into our cellular memory, we're not really doing learning, right? And so I know that you are visionaries, and I'm talking to the choir here, so preaching to the choir, as they say. So if you have pen and paper handy, that'll be great, because there'll be a lot of information coming your way, and I'm really excited. These are what we are going to cover are the top strategies to make intentional, intelligent shifts and thrive in the new normal. The operating word here is intentional, because now more than ever before, you want to stay above the default mode of the masses, which is reactive, right? And I've received so many emails from gurus, personal development gurus, who are advocating like pivot, pivot, pivot. But sometimes we can over pivot. Sometimes we can knee-jerk react and, just kind of make a massive change just because it seems like, everything is changing. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes instead of a 90-degree pivot, what we might need is just a 5-degree pivot, a 10-degree pivot, right? And we need to be very mindful so that we are, doing everything from well-contemplated, conscious, intentional place as yogis. And that's why I've called this, for the yogi CEO. And I want you to relax too, because I know like a lot of webinars, things are for sale, and I'm not here to sell anything. I want you to really, I'm here at a really pure desire to support you in staying focused on your mission for this year, because I just felt I want to just come out and at a time when it's so tenuous, to really encourage everybody to stay focused on what's important to you and not let the news and the mainstream media hijack your attention, because they're in the business for that. Remember that, right? They have their own agenda, and they're in the business of, spreading oftentimes, negative, disempowering news, and it takes us out of our power. So I want you to really focus on your future right now. And I'm going to be sharing with you planning hacks that get you results. And this is a system I've been, refining over the past 7 years. And I've added a few extra nuggets, especially for this era of massive turbulence, distractions, disruptions. So I'm going to be also talking on the way as I teach you this planning hacks, how to de-risk your life and your business, especially business, because I think many of you are professionals and business owners, and I think it's important to just a few nuggets about that, and also how to assess new opportunities, because in Japanese, I think I've shared it in one of my emails and my posts, like the word for crisis is spelled with 2 characters. One is the character for danger, the other is the character for opportunity. And so, with crisis comes opportunities too, but like, how do we wade through all these opportunities that are showing? And it can kind of like the background I chose, because it can make you very centered, can like looking out in so many directions, so many possibilities, and that can also make you feel very ungrounded. And finally, I'll be sharing with you the 5 keys to actually making your plans happen. Because who wants a plan that never gets executed, right? That just sits there collecting dust. And how many of you actually, by the way, have had that happen? Like you took the time to meticulously plan something out and nothing went your way, and it just all it just remained a plan, and in theory, and it never got executed. So I've had that happen, and I want to share with you the past mistakes I've made so you don't have to live through them, but you can just really learn through my mistakes. And I'll be sharing with you the essential mindset and the heart set shifts that made a huge difference in being able to execute on my plans. And I want to set a context here. And I had a little fun making this slide because it is the roaring 20s, right? But man, what a difference in the tone of the times. It is roaring in a very different way right now, the 2020s. And I believe we're going to look back at this decade and see what massive transition it was. And I'll tell you right now, when we look back at maybe 2029 or 2030 and look back at the decade, we are not going to recognize the society, the world, how everything has really changed. And so let's look at some huge trends. This is just to set the context for this whole planning, because I know this is a very special time. So some of the huge trends for this decade are obviously the quantum leaps in technology, especially the AI and biotech. Now we're seeing self-driving cars that will become more and more the mainstream. We're seeing major advances in biotech, which I think is a really positive thing, positive use of technology. We're also going to be seeing massive shifts in how we handle finances. This is one of the great cyber wars that will be happening. And United States right now, well, over the next couple of years, and it will become exact, I believe, in 2024, but it's the United States. When you look at the chart of the United States using Independence Day, it is undergoing Pluto return in the second house, which is about wealth, resources, finances. And so definitely there's going to be a revolution in the financial sector, which will affect everything else. And so there's also, so that's kind of like on the 3D level, but on the higher level, there will be, heightened intuitive ability on a mass level. Like everybody is being, all of our nervous systems are being upgraded. Literally, the Earth and the solar system we are inhabiting is moving through this photon belt, and the magnetic shield of the Earth is getting weaker, allowing all these leaks in galactic wavelengths to reach the Earth, resulting in this kind of upgradation of our, literally our, perhaps our DNA and our consciousness. Back on the 3D level, we will also see shifts from centralized power to decentralized power. But, and this is a big but, and this is, I think, the beginning of that is the struggle between the centralized power and the people. Right? We have already seen that, but it's going to be a major outright struggle. And I think we're going to be seeing it even in the next few days. And so we need to really stay grounded, calm, and practice our meditation, practice our deep care, self-care, and tap into the subtle vibrational, tap into your source vibration as much as you can. I really say this because that energy can protect you, can guide you. Everything will be vibrational. And of course, we're moving into the digital era with the rollout of 5G and 6G technologies, so much that, like sci-fi will become reality. So enough of that. And that's the backdrop, major change. So I believe that in each and every one of you here today, there is a visionary in you. And I want to just kind of zoom in and just look at, what are some of the traits? What are the visionary characteristics, right? Number one, they are able to hold a vision for a higher reality. They march to their own drumbeat. And so while the masses are glued to the TV and, kind of looking at this and getting freaked out, we should have, you as visionaries must have the ability to really at least have a layer of insulation and say, okay, this is happening, and what is the most resourceful thing? What's the most empowering thing I can do here, right? And how can I still move forward on the goals and visions that I've set for myself? Visionaries can also see what is not yet tangible and quote unquote real yet. And I suspect as we move through this, digital era and deeper into the 2020s, the definition of what's real is going to change. Hopefully, like what's solid is not real, right? What is real is going to be defined by, again, your focus and what you choose it to be, right? And visionaries have this kind of uncanny way that they usually go exactly the opposite of the herds and the masses. And so they have been labeled eccentric, crazy people, right? But there is a healthy way to be crazy, and a healthy way, because the masses are usually the masses way is usually not the most empowering way, right? And being strategic thinkers, that's why we're here for this planning session, to be strategic, innovative, right? The ability to innovate your work through and navigate your ship through this turbulence and take intelligent risks, calculated risks, and expert organizers, and be focused, intensely focused and enthusiastic about your vision. I mean, if you think about people like the Wright brothers, who got so ridiculed for trying to create a ship that could fly, the enthusiasm they had for their vision is what made that real. And so we must not be afraid, and do shield your vision from people who are I think it's important to be selective in who you share your vision with, but really having that enthusiasm for your vision and getting clear on it. So it's the default programming on our planet right now is still of the old paradigm, right? So the current programming on planet Earth is like, look to your current circumstances to create your future, which is so not good advice, because what created your current situation is repeated patterns of thought from the past. So if you look to your current circumstance to create your future, you're recycling more of the same into the future. And people often say, be realistic. Well, if we took that advice and, we stayed glued to the news, we'd be looking at, the mobs or the riots and, getting freaked out just like the media wants us to, and feeling helpless and, conforming to the status quo. And it's, and creating more of that disempowered, frenetic, chaotic vibration. So be realistic is really not a great advice right now, because looking at what is going to just amplify more of it. Again, our focus is creative. So we must really take ownership of our focus and really direct it, even, if we have to rip ourselves away from, the call of the mainstream media to just stay glued to it. And to continuously look to our past, what's possible in the future. This is also, this is why the earth in yogic language is called Karma Bhumi. Karma Bhumi, it means the land of karmas, land where we're on this loop of perpetual, propagating more of the same pattern over and over and over again, the inescapable karmic cycle. And so how do we break free from that? It is, again, by taking our creative energy of our focus and direct it where it will give us liberation, which is inwards, back to the source, right? Back to the source. And because right now, with all this, kind of upheaval that's happening, one of the great blessings is that we have a blank slate, and this word unprecedented has been used so many times. But so that means there is no playbook to play by, right? And so we should consider ourselves really, really fortunate to be living in this time. It's a golden opportunity for self reinvention. Really, it's an opportunity that's truly too precious to waste. So we can consciously write the rules you're willing to play by, write your paradigm, right? And we can literally wire in a much more enlightened happiness and fulfillment and freedom producing set of paradigms to operate by. And before we can tap into the opportunities, though, we must surmount some obstacles. And let me know, in the chat. And I'd love for you to be interactive and chat with me first, so that I know I know you're here with me, and I know that it's resonating with you. And don't be afraid to raise your hand and ask questions either. Okay. So tell me if this has been, some of it feels familiar, maybe not all of it, but some of these things, like, you need to change, but it's been a struggle to actually make those change. And like difficulty installing good habits, difficulty staying focused, difficulty sleeping, difficulty finding a soulmate, or if this is what you had on your vision. And so, but it's really not your fault. Also, you're feeling uncertain and anxious about your future. Yeah, sounds very familiar, right? And so, it's like part of the magic of planning, and why I felt this would be really helpful, even if you have planned before, have done a planning session before, is that planning gives you deeper self-belief. And thank you so much, Andrea, for that. I'm glad you're loving this. So, self belief is a critical muscle that you must build if you want to live a visionary life. And so, planning is not just like planning to do something, but it's also about the inner shifts that happen as you plan. So this might also then be familiar, right? You've done planning sessions before, but you haven't been able to execute or realize it. Like, how many, have you had this happen? That happened to me, I think, the past couple of years. And so I've learned lessons from that, you know. Absolutely. You're so welcome, Deborah. You're so welcome. And okay, and then there's another one, right? And I'm saying this because I've also experienced this, right? Feeling stuck in the survival mode. I mean, I was stuck in India, guys, for 4 months, no internet for a whole like 6 weeks. And it was like very, and I, I saw myself recoil into the survival mode. And just seeing like people on the streets, like, oh my God, I can't go back home. And so we're living in the uncertain times, and we are hardwired to cling to safety. And survival mechanism is no small thing, and it's our default programming. But that's why we need practices like yoga with a capital Y. And the present world, the mainstream world, understands yoga to be just a bunch of stretches and breathing on a yoga mat. And that is such an injustice to this discipline of yoga. What you are here doing now is, I think, the deeper dimension of yoga, bringing awareness to your inner patterns, self-examination, and, really, that's where transformation starts to happen, right? That's where we can begin to rise above our survival mode of clinging to the contractive safety and clinging to scarcity, right? And rising above that. And so there is an inner war that must be waged and won in yoga always, and that is over those default programmings if we want to rise higher in growth. And I really acknowledge you all as heroes and heroines being here, because this is a heroic thing. Growth is not easy. I know that. And yet you chose to be here on your holiday. So thank you for being you, everybody. And so, it's like, if you've experienced any of these scenarios, you're in the right place, myself included, right? And let's take a moment to ponder. And these are maybe painful questions, but these are what I call igniting questions. Number one, how long have these patterns been plaguing me, even in a subtle way. Like, how long has survivalist tendencies, how long have I allowed that to dominate, right? How long have I allowed, this inability, this kind of being disempowered to change what I really need to change? How long have I let it linger, right? And all these other things, right? And what is it costing me? And this is a really important question that will light a fire under our butts, right? Because it's like we don't realize sometimes these tendencies have become like faded into the background because we've been practicing it so much. And that's the value of showing up for a session like this, is to take these, background uh, programs, old programs that have been running in the background, bring it to the foreground, and then look at it, and then actually become aware of, wow, I have been paying a price for it. Like, what's the price of continuously always being in survival mode? What's the price of not being able to install those habits that you need to install? What's the price you're paying on not executing on the plans? So let's, become aware of the price that maybe it's ambient suffering. You're paying the price with this ambient, kind of like this dim, not extreme suffering, but like this dull suffering that maybe has been called the quiet desperation, And so it's time to bring awareness to it so we can begin to shift it, right? So I do have some outcomes for you today. And my goal is to have you walk away with a 90-day plan and the certainty. That is so important. The certainty that you will follow through and execute on it. And I hope that sounds good. That sounds good. Type it in the chat box for me. That sounds like a plan. And I want to take the possibility that you have and turn it into probability with a plan, right? And take that probability and turn that into an inevitability. Right? Would you like that? Great plan. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yes. So let's dive right into it. So no more fluffs. This is, preamble's over. And this is the exact steps. If you want to take a screenshot of this or write it down, these are the 6 steps I'll be taking you through as we, crafting your 90-day plan. So number 1 is so obvious, but sometimes the obvious escapes us, and it's like knowing crystal clear, right, exactly what you want. And that goes for like your smaller goals in the different areas of your life, as well as the big vision, as laser crystal clear as you can get it. And it's very, very important to really, if it's like a quantifiable goal, then name that number. Don't be afraid to name, like, I want this many clients, I want this much income. Like, name it. Don't be afraid to write down the number. And look, if you don't reach it, you're not going to die. It's like, if you take the timeline out, you will reach it. Success is inevitable if you keep working on it, right? If you keep working on yourself and if you don't give up, success is inevitable. That's another brain tattoo. Okay, so that's number 1. Clarity. And there's 2 levels of this, 2 layers of clarity. So number 1 is, I would like you to have top 3 outcomes that you want by the end of the year for each of the 4 quadrants of your life. And I say this because I've seen a lot of type A visionaries and type A visionaries who kind of get really imbalanced in their lives because they neglect other important areas of their lives, like health and relationships, in service of like their career vision or their money vision, and they have very imbalanced lives. So I want us to get to our vision balanced in a fulfilled way. And so here are the 4 quadrants. Health and well-being, that's the foundation. And then relationships, vocation, and career. And vocation could be something, now you might not be getting paid for it, but it is something you do with your time and your talent, right? And your energy. And then lastly, time and money freedom. So take a moment. I mean, I would love to hear, choose one goal from one of these quadrants. And if you don't mind sharing it, I would love for you to share, because I think we get inspired with each other's goals, So for example, my goal in the health arena is to dial in a disciplined night ritual. I got my morning ritual pretty good now, and it's like my night ritual is my main thing. So let me know what is your one of the health and well-being goals that you have, and hopefully you've had time to write it down. On writing your goals is so important. We know this, right? You're all so silent and shy. Are you here? Are you here? Let me know. What is your goal here? Right. Also, what are some of your relationship goals? Now, that can be sometimes a little bit more challenging to define, but one of my goals with my life partner, wonderful life partner, Krishna, is to be more patient, right? To be more patient. And when I feel irritated, just to like count to 10, take like 10 deep breaths and really be with my feelings, and that really helps a lot, because I think that it is an edgy time we're living in, and we got to be really careful not to take our anger, irritation out on our most significant people in our lives. So 50 minutes meditation every morning and evening, wonderful. Be present when with my loved ones, love it. Yoga for sure, fantastic. Relationship goal, open my heart to a new relationship, wonderful. Wonderful. Yes. So hold that vision, And like also like relationship could also mean, we play many, many different roles, right? I'm a daughter to my parents. And one of my goals, which I'm not sure can be achieved this year, but I'm holding the vision for it anyway, is to have an in-person family gathering. My parents live in Japan and my sister lives in Los Angeles. So, that's, a daunting one, but I know that holding a vision for it and believing in it makes it more likely sooner than not holding it. So I'm going to persist anyway, right? And so that's what's also so important too. Like a lot of people set a year-long goal and then are like, okay, it didn't happen this year. And then they write a whole new goal for the next year without seeing their, original goal through. And so sometimes taking a timeline out and giving yourself permission to be like, okay, however long this thing takes, take a stand for your vision. So that's one level of clarity you need, right? In the 4 quadrants of life. Then this is the part that can be challenging. Now, there is a practice called essentialism. How many of you have read the book Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less? I believe by Mr. Gregor, I can't remember his last name, but it is a wonderful, wonderful book. And I highly, highly recommend you put it on your 2021 reading list. But one of the most common mistakes I see people when they're, planning their year is they put way too much on their calendar, and it's really important to avoid. I've done it, and so I can speak, especially in times of disruptions and change. It is one of the top strategies for thriving in the era of massive disruptions is leaving space for life to do its thing, right? So having one majestic mission for the year. And I know it's really, really hard, but this takes some, contemplation, reflection, right? So choose quality over quantity, right? Have one main thing. And as Stephen Covey would say, keep the main thing, the main thing, the main thing. If you, have that one main thing that if you achieved would make this year a great year. And also, a lot of you are in the stage of your life where you must start thinking about your legacy. So, that's what we want to be, is like quality over quantity. And the thing that's lasting, the thing that is most impactful, give it that one, the position of the one majestic mission for this year. And so would you, I thought maybe at this point, like it would be good to do a short meditation. It might add a few minutes to my presentation, but is it okay if we do this? Like maybe a short meditation reflection on this point, because I think this takes some contemplation. Would that be okay with you? Great. Okay, definitely. Okay, so let's all find a nice tall meditation asana. So if you're sitting on a chair, have your feet flat on the ground and your back away from the backrest of your chair. So you're sitting a little bit towards the front edge of your chair, and with your shins 90 degrees, your legs parallel to each other. and just refresh your posture, because I know these Zoom sessions, you can end up being like slouching like this, and physiology is your psychology. And again, let's embody what the visionaries do, which is be alert, be aware, and be resourceful. So let's take a nice deep breath and roll the shoulder blades up. Open your chest and let the palms face up to the sky. Close your eyes and take a nice deep breath, a breath of life. Welcome it in as you gaze into the space between your brows. So at this point, I'm sure you have written some goals down for the year 2021, and I just want you to call it to mind, the goals around those four quadrants, your health and wellness. What are some of your goals? Your relationship goals, bring that to the foreground. Your career, purpose, vocation goals, right? And your time and money freedom goals, your adventure goals, your habit goals, your hobby goals. Just bring those that you've written to mind, invoke them, remember them, recognize them. And then also let's think about this trajectory of the year ahead of us. We have a fresh new year with a fresh new runway, and just see, these months kind of, progress, and see what that will come your way as you go through this year. You have some plans, you've done some preliminary planning, and certain things are coming, right? And I just want you to just park yourself at the end of this year, December 31st, 2021, and look back and just what had to have happened, right? And also invoke your higher self as you do this. Invoke your visionary self to, talk to your mind, to your intellect, to your imagination. What is your majestic mission, mighty, majestic mission for the year 2021? That if you could get this one done or make major progress in, you can call 2021 an awesome, well lived year with satisfaction and no regrets. And that is one of the things that growth, saying yes to growth saves us from. Saying yes to growth every day saves you from the tragedy of regret, right? At the end of a year lived, at the end of a decade lived, at the end of a life lived, we do not want to get to the end of that and have regrets. So what must 2021, what must the majestic mission for 2021 be for you to have lived it with no regrets? Just get quiet and see, receive, contemplate. It may be one of your goals, but then again, it may be something that's an umbrella to all of your goals. It may be one single habit that you're really consistent with throughout the whole year. It may come to you in the form of a single word, a symbol, a vision. Breathe in deep, breathe out long, and trust with great certainty. Your inner self knows it. Your inner self knows already what is your majestic mission for 2021. Trust that it knows it. Have certainty that it knows it. You just have to be open to receive it. Fantastic. Let's slowly just let your palms come together. And this is a gesture where in the 5D realm, where in the yogic realm, where the opposites, they do not clash, but they integrate, synthesize into the highest, right? The opposites, the polarities come together, integrate, become greater than the sum of its parts, and takes you back to the highest. So let's stretch it out and just like open your arms. You are a visionary. Success is inevitable. You are great. You see solutions everywhere. These are the visionary affirmations. Your focus is creative. You are a creative visionary. So let's move on. So this is one of the mistakes that I see a lot of people, and it's like being an essentialist is a very courageous thing to do. So I want you to think about, treat your calendar like a lifeboat that's going to sink if you put too many cargoes and too many stuff on it. It's going to sink. The whole thing is going to go down if you put too much on your calendar. So definitely less is more. And so forget about trying to make 100 things happen. Just produce one outright masterpiece, and amazing blessings will unfold. Dig one hole deep and commit to it, right? And it's don't give up. So this is one major mistake that I've made. And I thought this was a very potent image of that. Okay, step 2. Moving on to step 2 of crafting your 90-day plan. And actually, I'm teaching you how to create a annual plan, which hopefully, I hope you don't mind that, is to reverse engineer your goals and identify the milestones. And I'm going to take you exactly step by step process. But just, because reverse engineering is something that feels counterintuitive to most people. Why would you want to work backwards, you might say? And you're supposed to move forward towards your goals, right? That's the logical thing. That's how humans think. But you know what? Sometimes with the human way is very inefficient. And how many of you have had the experience of like you were trying to get somewhere that you've never been and you got lost? And it took you, in a totally different way. And it took a lot of effort, right? It took a lot of effort to get there. But then when you were driving back from that place, back to your home or wherever you came from, it was like, it felt like it was half the time. How many of you had that experience, like whether hiking or driving? Yes. And so that's because when you conceptualize yourself as moving forward towards your goals, it always feels like you're getting to a moving target. And this is more true than, if it's a physical destination, that physical destination is not moving, but a vision, and especially if your vision is like not 100% clear, that when you try to get to your goals, you have to navigate through doubts, changing, shifting desires, and the lack of certainty in your mind is what actually gets you lost. When you reverse engineer the path, you have certainty because you put a stake on the ground and said, this is not moving. This is what I'm committing to. Okay? And this is the path that must lead to the destination. This is the destination that the path must lead to. And then we work backwards from that. And it always shows you the shortest path. Doesn't GPS usually show you the shortest path? Yes. Right? You can also like choose not to pay those tolls and all of those things, but usually it shows you the shortest path. And so we trace backwards to where you are now from the vision. Think from your vision, not to it. And so this is why I want you to, shut the news out, at least for some time a day, to envision and really be in that, reality of living your vision. See it, feel it, fill out the 5 sensory details. And then you're going to ask yourself, what had to happen for that outcome to take place? What, if this is the reality now, standing in the vision, what outcome had to take place? What's the, what were the, people I had to meet, the things I had to do, the actions I had to take? What mindsets did I have to adopt? What shifts in mindset and heart sets did I have to go through? And what myths did I have to bust through? That's also part of it, right? So reverse engineering is very, very powerful because it immediately puts you in the identity of having already achieved your vision with certainty. And this is exactly how you reverse engineer in real time, step by step. And I did this, it might seem familiar to you, Tracy, as we did at my live event, Vision to Reality Live, but it's a good time to review it now after all the disruptions have happened. So very practically, step by step, all you do is you can take a screenshot of this as well. And I invite you to block out at least half a day, right? Or, if you want to really be, luxurious, give yourself one full visionary VIP day, like a Sunday. Give yourself, like, say, this is my visionary day, and I'm going to, really focus on my vision. And so in those hours, you're going to take your index cards and you're going to put yourself into this meditative state like we just did. We're going to envision your vision with crystal clarity, that partner that you want to attract, William, or that, that new job you want to have, or having multiple streams of income. Or for me, like I had a year ago, I had this vision of having an oceanfront, beautiful apartment that would be my escape pad, my winter escape pad. And I had this vision so clearly in my mind. And then you ask, what are the exact steps you took to get here? And so I wrote things down like, well, I researched on, online. I I started to study about international real estate, because this place I envisioned was in Mexico, in the Riviera Maya, in those turquoise waters. And I had, I envisioned like, okay, I'd probably have to take a trip or two there to really scout, and really see some apartments, and I'd have to connect with an agent. And I wrote all these things down that everything I could think of, one idea per index card. And I didn't edit, right? You don't edit, just download, brain dump all of the things, the steps that you had to go through, small and big. Like I wrote down, rent a car, get a flight, get a place to stay so that I can have a, place to stay when I'm scouting, talk to some expats who already live there, and, ask them questions. All these things I wrote down. And then as I lay this index card on the floor, or you can do this on a bed, and I was able to look at them, I noticed that some ideas were larger than others. And so that became my milestone. And I saw that some ideas went under the heading of that larger idea, such as like the scouting trip was one big idea. And so underneath that, so here's kind of an example of how it looked. And imagine these are like round index cards, okay? So if the, scouting trip is my, main idea, and I had all these other cards like, learn about international real estate, all these things, research, and, talk to expats, find a place, all these things I would put underneath that. And then I had several other milestones, right? And I had a huge kind of a spread of cards all arranged according to milestone and mini feats that go under them. And then I look at the milestones and see, okay, what makes logical sense? Which milestone comes first? And then that became a chronological ordered ladder step from the vision back to where I am, which I can tread from here to there, right? And that was the shortest route that I could create with my logical brain. How many of you got this? Because I always feel like I'm giving a monologue, and I just want to make sure you're getting this. Does that sound doable? And are you going to commit to doing it in the next few days, guys? Let me know. Or have you already done it? And I know there's a couple of writers and scholars here. And if you are a creative person here, this is a thing you can do. Awesome. Fantastic. I'm glad. You are visionaries. You're going to take action, because information without implementation ain't going to get you anywhere. Yes. And so, let me just share with you my story of like, I did this for the Mexico condo, beachfront condo. That was my dream. Place to live, right? And so let me just share with you this story, because so I planned to have it, right? I did all this. I got excited to have it, and I was able to align through both my logical brain and my dreamy visionary brain that it was very possible to have this beautiful abode. And as I researched, I found something that I can afford, and I was living in this condo in my imagination, and my toes were in the sand in my dreams, right? And so one day I opened the mail, and from it was like I had subscribed to an online magazine, and I saw this like complex that was being built out, and it was in a beautiful nature reserve. And because that's what caught my attention, because I didn't want something in like a huge like Cancun or somewhere like that. I wanted something much more lush in nature and surrounded by beautiful nature. And so when I looked deeper, I saw that the developer was offering free tours of the actual site, and they were putting people up for free. Get this, in an all-inclusive, gorgeous, like what you would have to pay like $300 a night for, with meals included, drinks included, and they were gonna pick me up and drive me around, and so I didn't have to rent that car. And they also had the seasoned lawyer, who was experienced with, selling properties, negotiating the deals between foreign investors in Mexico. And so everything was lined up for me. And it was like, I couldn't believe the alignment of everything, because this condominium, it was like the whole theme. There was like a yoga studio in the jungle, and it was like the people who were building it were very into the eco community idea, and I felt so aligned. Like, and it just, I was ready to spend like a year researching, and at least 6 months, I thought, and really, when I look back, it happened in shorter than about a little bit more than 3 weeks. So it was like, it was a quantum leap for me. I could skip over about 10 steps, just by going through this process. And I'm not saying that every plan will come so easily, but that I just want to share with you the magic, the power of planning can be quite uncanny, because we tend to, be so rational and think, okay, we're going to plan it and we're going to do this step by step. And that's what it sounds like. I know the masterclass sounds like that, like you're gonna, plan it and execute it. But sometimes, just by planning and getting so clear on your vision and creating a plan, reverse engineering it from your vision to here, you're vibrationally so in alignment, and you have like all the details worked out in your mind. And sometimes it can happen like that. So one of the great boons of planning is the inner alignment and the certainty that it gives your logical side that you can have your dream, and it's real. It's real, and you just have to call it into manifestation. So definitely do that reverse engineering, which may take a couple of hours. If it's a big dream, it may take 3 hours, but it is so worth it. Do it for each one of the major, definitely for your one mighty mission for 2021, if you've been able to distill that, right? Do it for that, and do it for your 5-year vision. Even do it for your relationship vision. Do it for your business vision, because it'll give you the shortcut. Sometimes you can make quantum leaps just by doing this step. Okay, so next step is to assign a purpose to each quarter. And how do we come up with the purpose to each quarter? And all of this is in service of simplifying because if you have 10 goals per quarter, it's like, who can remember 10 goals, And so, but if you can just remember one purpose, it really is, again, that essentialist power of taking this diffused ray that is like scattered everywhere, and making it a laser beam, a gamma ray that can burn a hole through the wall, that kind of a powerful focus. So there's a couple of ways that you can come up with your purpose to each quarter. One is like, take the top 4 milestones from your vision, right? You reverse engineered it, and you have a good idea of the order, and then you should know, like, what's at least for the next quarter, what's the purpose of the next 3 months, or the next 2 months and 10 days or so, right? So and the other way is to see your vision or dream from 4 key dimensions or aspects. So let me give you an example, because here in this little screenshot I'm sharing with you, this is actual screenshot from my Google Doc, which I'll be happy to share with you, is like, this is for an entrepreneur's like a business plan. And my 4 key area, actually it was a 5 key area thing, was lead generation, lead nurturing, conversion, delivering of the goods, and then retention, right? Retention and upsell. And that's the step number 5. So, I gave myself a score on each of these, and then I chose whatever I scored the lowest on and whatever felt made sense to really start the year off with. So I chose, let's say, my main purpose for the month, for the whole quarter, is lead generation. Right? So you can divide your quarter like that, or you can look at this one. I gave 4 different examples. So if you're like starting or growing your business, my example might work nicely. If you have a health goal, like attaining your ideal weight, and I like to say attaining your ideal weight instead of losing weight, because subconsciously, setting a goal to lose something is, it doesn't really work on a subconscious level. So attaining your ideal weight, let's say you divide it into like, okay, there's 4 aspects. There's nutrition, exercise, morning habits, sleep habits. You might be able to think of other aspects, but this is where you can customize according to like, what are the 4 dimensions, getting your ideal job might be upgrading your skills, right? Maybe researching, maybe outreach, maybe follow up. And then, so you come up with this 4 or 5 dimensions, right? And then it's so you're going to like start to create a okay, so I'm sorry. Let's do this actually. Let's do this actually. So instead of just being purely theoretical, can you take a moment to see one of your goals, right? One of your goals, or it could be, if your overarching mighty mission for 2021, like, how can you divide this vision into 3 to 5 key components, right? And choose your focus. We can call it a focus, we can call it a purpose, for your number 1 focus, overarching purpose for quarter number 1 of 2021. Take a moment to do this right now. And yeah, so for me, like, if I were to take the example of my condo, it could have been like finance could have been a big aspect of, making my dreams come true. Research is another component. Actual selection process is another. Doing due diligence is another, and so forth. So come up with, 5 or so, 3 to 5 aspects of this dream. And it should be large enough so that, in 90 days, you really want to focus on it and make huge headways towards it. And so if you have a specific dream, then take your milestones. This quarter is going to be about this. And hey, if it doesn't take 90 days, great. Just move on to the next milestone, right? You fast-tracked your vision by doing that. So let me know, like, your number 1 purpose or focus for Q1. Any brave soul out there? And make a commitment. When you put it in the chat, it's like we all hold you accountable, and it's a great place to declare, right? So my focus in my business right now is lead generation, and another creative focus is I'm working on edition 2 for the book. So between those 2, I think right now I'm really focused on the lead generation aspect. And then whenever I'm free, like, that book project will be something I do on the side. But so let me know, what is your focus for Q1? What is your purpose for Q1? I'm not going to advance my slide until, okay, I already did advance my slide, but so, okay, so do definitely write down your purpose for Q1. And then again, it's a kind of a reverse engineering process, but then you're going to brainstorm the action steps that will lead you to achieving your quarterly purpose or focus, right? So, for example, like lead generation, there are many, many ways to do that, right? And so let's see. Okay, Tracy. Okay, perfect, perfect. Curriculum plan. So that's your 90-day goal. And so now, in the service of the curriculum plan, right? If that's your quarter one focus, what are the action steps that will allow you to really achieve that, right? What will really serve this? What are some of the action steps? And then you're going to take this and put it into your monthly goals. Now you're going to take that and map it onto each month. Attain the weight. Okay, attain your ideal weight. Perfect, Gloria. So what are, so health. So health is a very broad one. And so maybe there's a specific arena of health. See if you can get more focused with your purpose as well. And so what's the arena of health you're focusing on for this first quarter? Is it your daily routine? Is it maybe you want to decide to put more energy into the food you prepare. Maybe it's a particular diet, right? Marion, teach a great class on environmentalism. I love it. I love it. So, okay, so that's a great 3-month, focus for this quarter. And so if you reverse engineer or like, what are some of the action steps? And I'm sure you're doing it right now. So, and write down some next steps, right? So it could be, I'm sure you've done the research, and then it is creating, maybe you need to create slides, you need to create handouts, you need to create a syllabus, right? And I highly recommend for doing something like this, the index card process is really, really helpful because it allows you to brain dump all the ideas in a disorganized way, and you really separate the process of, creation and chronological ordering it. And so don't edit, right, while we are creating. So make them two separate processes. And so that is a great, wonderful process to do. Create your compelling story. This could also be done greatly with the index card process. So you are all visionaries in the making. And so you're going to, like, let's say, okay, this is a great one for like the nutrition. If you have as your like nutrition for the focus for quarter one, then you might brainstorm some things like, work with a nutritionist, or make time to cook my meals, or learn healthy new recipes, remove junk from my fridge and cupboards and fill them with healthy foods, right? You don't need to do all of them, but you're brain dumping this, right? And then you're going to use your practical wisdom and intuition to help you decide the most effective course of action. And then you're going to put them on your monthly goals list, right? And then as you arrive in each of the months, you are going to refine that. Of course, I do a weekly review process, a monthly review process, right? So let's move on. Right? You're going to put each of the action steps you've selected and assign them to each quarter. And here is a very, very important tip is to, so one I already said is like separate the brainstorming process from the editing process. Hot tip number one, right? Don't mix the two. Don't try to do both on the same. First, brain dump, don't edit. The more crazier the idea, then actually the crazier the idea, the closer you're really digging to your very creative part of the brain. So don't dismiss crazy, way from the left field ideas. Just dump them out anyway. You don't have to, go with it, but it's like sometimes when you're pumping well water, sometimes first the brown water comes out, but the clear water, won't come out until the brown water has, spewed out first. So it's kind of like that. Sometimes the crazy ideas and the obvious ideas and the non-genius ideas, they all come first. And then as you keep digging, so that's very important to separate brainstorming and editing. Step two is very, very important. It's a caution, okay? Don't, be aware of the tendency for most of us to underestimate how long each action will take. So I like to take my estimate, my conservative estimate, and then I double it or sometimes triple it because I tend to cram way too much into my time. And I realized over time that because I'm a perfectionist, sometimes things take a lot longer to get it to the point of quality that I want it to be. So again, quality over quantity. And so another hot tip, this is hot tip number 3, is when you are doing something that you know you will have to do repeatedly, actually put your timer on. Right? Take your phone, time it, and see how long it actually takes you to do the thing. And then, like editing a video, for example, I used to think, okay, 3 hours should be enough, but then I realized sometimes when I'm editing a yoga video, it can take up to 8 hours, guys, to edit a yoga video to my satisfaction, because I'm so specific. Like I want to zoom in on the foot when I'm talking about the foot and all these things. So I have to give myself like 8 hours for a video. And if I finish early, I can move ahead. So give yourself, measure the amount of time it takes. And then when you observe yourself as you do the task, dictate, kind of notate as you do them. Observe your own system. What is the order in which you edit a video? What is the order in which you create a course? What is the order in which you create a curriculum? Because as you do it, you are creating a system. The first time you do it, it's an unrefined system, but you have documented what you have done. And and the next time you'll probably have to create another curriculum, right? And you can refer to those notes. And then now you have a manual to follow. And as you find shortcuts, you refine it, right? And that's why I'm able to teach you how to create a 90-day plan, because I've done it and I've documented it. So observe your own system. This is very hot tip number 3. Okay. And while I'm on the tips, let's discuss how to de-risk your business for 2021. Are you all here with me? Do you need a little refresher? I know this can get very, these Zoom sessions. So let me know how you're doing. Are you breathing, and are you taking care of yourself? Do you have nice water to drink? And how are you doing here? Give me a little shout out. So I know you're here and I'm not doing a monologue. Doing great. Awesome. Tracy, anybody else? Gloria, William, Deborah, how are y'all doing? Good. Okay. Thank you. And C4 Cat, is that Cat? Is that Kathy? That's what I'm guessing. But wonderful, Lila. Great to have you here. Fantastic. So great. Welcome, Kathy. So yes, tip number 1 to de-risk your business is to shorten your sales cycles. So if you have a business where, you have one big launch per year, let's say, and that has been like the tradition. Every year you do one big launch. This might be a year when you might think about doing smaller, shorter, smaller scale launches, maybe like quarterly launches, or at least biannual, twice a year. It's like multiple swings of the bat instead of counting on one launch to give you the home run like Babe Ruth. It's like, multiple swings of the bat. So you give yourself many opportunities to get the revenue, right? So great. And so number 2 is creating every offer. And this is what I have done in my membership, is every single thing I create is in conversation with my clients, customers, right? It's like I take their feedback very seriously, and it is now like I want to be of service, and I want to be relevant to the people I'm serving. So every time, I don't like to create anything in a vacuum. I, as much as possible, surveys and conversations. And that's why, I'm asking you also for chat feedback, because I want to know that this is landing for you and this is valuable for you. Hopefully this is valuable for you guys. And so, and again, tip number 3 about de-risking, I talked about before, is about pivoting with ultra mindfulness. You might not even need to pivot, and that's your pivot, right? So just because the masses and the gurus are saying, pivot because it's the disruptions and it's the crisis, maybe you don't need to pivot. Maybe it's a 1-degree pivot. Maybe it's a tiny tweak, or maybe you do need to make a big change. So each person's situation is unique. And so we must look at it as is and do self-inquiry and inquiring with the people, that you serve. Yeah, fantastic. Wonderful, Gloria. Observing your own system. Yes, for sure. This can mean, for teachers and for entrepreneurs, this is like, creating your own system is so important. Yeah, thank you for that. Number 4, when assessing new opportunities, right? Always look at the opportunity cost in time, money, and effort. And I want to just kind of insert in here, and I think, insert in here a mini system for assessing new opportunities, because I suspect you probably have come across, considered going down different avenues as you are, inventing, creating new need to generate income streams and whatnot, and you've looked at different things. So number 1 question to ask is the opportunity aligned with my core values? Like I see in my inbox all the time, like visionary yoga, here's a business opportunity for you, an affiliate business opportunity, and it's like, sell this kind of, and you get commission and this and that. And I'm like, it's not really aligned with my core values. And I only want to share with my people the products that I really believe in and stand behind. And it's very few in number, right? So what's the opportunity cost in it for me, time wise, energy wise, resources wise? So remember that everything is like you're paying for it with your life, So every time you put something in your vision, you're paying for it with your life. That is your time, your energy, your sweat equity, your resources. So it's so important to vet those opportunities through a very strict series of, very self-honest questions. Number 3 is, does it fit in with the overall vision and mission of your life? And really, really important for me as well, because hey, there's a lot of ways, a gazillion ways to make money online. I could just do, there's been these schemes about, putting ads on different websites, and you get clicks and you get passive income. And yes, location independence is one of my goals and dreams, but that doesn't make me feel good, to just, put ads on indiscriminately and just get money for clicks. That just doesn't align with my mission, my vision, and my need for, uh, living a meaningful life. So I think it's so important to, and this will, this will allow you to say a no to almost everything. For every yes, you should say 1,000 no's, and that's how you become an essentialist visionary, right? An essentialist master. So important. Okay, so that's the kind of I've derailed a little bit. I diverged a little bit, but I felt it was really important to discuss about, very relevant theme. If you have a business, and we're all needing to de-risk and pivot. So the last, well, is it the last step? So is of this creating this 90-day plan is you're going to just decide how are you going to track your progress on your goals. So and I know most of you are very spiritual in nature, and the idea of tracking a spiritual goal seems very kind of like left brain. But I tell you, tracking your goals, there is always a way to track it. And even if it's like crossing out on your calendar the days you've meditated, or tracking the number of minutes or hours you've meditated in a day, there's always a way to track the progress you're making on your goals. And tracking it keeps you self-honest. Tracking it will give you a black and white, unequivocal answer whether you have achieved your mission or not. And I think that's very, very important to know. It's like the worst thing is like having this abstract goal that's like very qualitative, and you just never know if you've attained it. Then you can kind of cheat and say, okay, well, I kind of did that, but it's so great to be able to, make real progress in a trackable way, So if you're working on a book, you might track the number of pages you write in a day, right? If you are working on your health, you might, start really checking out, on your journal or on your calendar, how many days of the week you hydrated well, how many of the days you ate a plant-based diet, how many nights you stopped eating at 8 p.m., that kind of thing you can track. And it's a yes or no, it's a black or white. And it's very, very, I believe it's very, very important to help you stay self-honest. Some of these abstract goals that are qualitative can, it's hard to track that. And I know relationship goals are harder to track, but I know a father who decided like he wanted to improve his relationship with his kids. And so he actually tracked the number of hours he spent playing with each of his kids. And it did result in a more, a deeper bond with his kids. So there are ways they can, track those, even those relationship goals as well. So here's another, so then after you do this is step, I guess it's step 7. I thought I said it was only 6 steps, but let me just check back. But assign, I think I bunched 2 steps into one. That's what happened. But assign each day a purpose. Now, for me, this was very, very game changing because as an entrepreneur, my days can feel like they just kind of blur. I don't have a weekend or a weekday, and it became very important for me to really give each quarter and each day an overall one focus. And again, it allowed me to really stay focused. Like I have content creation days, and that has been a game changer for me because it allows me to stay in one mode all day long. Create, 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 create. And I love that day because I can be the hermit. I can just like be my pajamas and just be in my creative mode all day long. And there's no pressure to, put on my makeup and go out, all those things. So I have my Mondays are my CEO days where I do all my planning and I do the, kind of the bigger picture things. And I also look at my finances on that day, do a review. I look at the future plans, the projects coming up, and make key, connections. Those are like the CEO day activities. And of course, I do other things as well, but just having that focus allows me to keep the main thing, the main thing, the main thing, and not get scattered all over the place. Tuesdays are my outreach days. So it is, I'm there doing, writing emails or reaching out, doing my social media or whatever it is that I consider to be the essential outreach, reconnecting, right? And content Wednesdays. And these days, I think Thursdays have also, half of it has gone to content creation. And then I love bunching all of my coaching calls on one day or 2 days. And it's just like, it really helps me to stay in one mode. And I find that being in one mode allows me to improve my skill set in that arena. And so I really love that. And I know that many of you, it's impossible to just stay in only one mode, but it really does help create a greater focus to my day. And it allows me to say, okay, that goes on content Wednesdays. I'm not doing that today, And so it allows me to also say, okay, work is done, just draw a line and be like, I'm done with work. I can take a walk or I can, do other things. And so, this may not work, this exact format of division of the days may not work for you, but there are other ways of dividing. Let me share with you some examples that you might take inspiration from. And I invite you to just customize it, so you might do research Mondays, outreach Tuesdays, marketing Wednesdays, studying, upgrading your knowledge base, and celebration Fridays. I would love to do that, like I know an entrepreneur who has like play day Fridays, and every Friday she goes and does like a trapeze class, so it's important to build fun into your day. It's important also to build a recovery day. For me, Sundays are my recovery days, my sacred Sundays where I go out to nature, go see a museum, some art, and just really important to make sure that I give myself that, So as a creator, it's important to like create this structure so that I can be in the flow. So experiment and have fun with it, and this is all in the service of you being in your genius mode and really being intentional in the way you spend your time, because research has found that when you switch modes very frequently, you are wasting a lot of brain resources. It's when you have to go from creating to doing a coaching call to doing doing shopping arounds or whatever. It's like it really scatters your energy and you can't do each thing in a deep way. So I definitely found the quality of my content improved with just like batching it all in one day. Okay, so that's the overall steps. So now I want to go to, should we just recap here? Because I know there's a lot of steps. Before I go into the 5 keys, let me just recap. Hold on a second. Pardon the, I just want to recap for you because I know that. Okay, so here's the slide. Okay, so let's recap. So number 1, you're going to clarify, know exactly what you want, both on the mission, critical mission, mighty mission for 2021, and dial that in. Then you reverse engineer that. You do that index card process, assign a quarter, assign a purpose to each quarter, a focus to each quarter, brainstorm the action steps to achieve that purpose, decide how you're going to track it, decide whatever you want to, whatever you treasure. There's a saying, whatever you treasure, measure it, measure what you treasure. That's the saying. And then assign each day a purpose. So it is 6 steps. Okay, so I don't know how I got 7 there, but anyway, so these are the main 6 steps. And now I want to just share with you the golden keys to actually being able to implement and live those plans. Let me just get myself to the right place here in the here we go. Okay, so they're very, very important. These are like personal development 101. And, I want you to really start living this on a daily basis, starting today. Like make decision making a habit, because I think, decision is hard. Decision making can be very, very hard because decide comes from the same word. It has the same suffix as the word homicide or suicide. It means to kill, right? You have to kill all these other possibilities in the service of the one essential thing. Again, this takes a lot of contemplation, but make decision making a habit. Like decide right now, decide you're going to have that vision. Just make a decision. I decided to have this oceanfront condo, come hell or, hell or fire. It was like, I'm doing it. And that is how I was able to make it happen. It was scary, but, it was making that decision was the first step. Connect with your why again, with those 2 igniting questions. How long have you, lived with paying the costs of not making this change, right? What is it costing you? Connect with your why. Connect with your why for why you want your vision realized, why you want your dream realized, right? What's it costing you? Number 3, know your biggest obstacles. This is so important. So, as soon as you put a stake in the ground and say, I want this, universe gives you an obstacle. This is just the way it works. This is just the way it works. And so knowing what those obstacles are in advance is so, so important. And just going to take a peek. Hold on a second. Okay. Yeah. So this is, I knew I had a slide for this. So this is a very yogic thing, yogic tradition, yogic practice. It is called Atma Vichara. Right? Atma Vichara means self-inquiry. It's one of the most neglected yogic practice, I think, just because it is really an outright assault on your own ego. But that's what yogis do because they want to break out of the ego. They want to rise above that survival mechanism that the ego is wrapped up in, right? And so most people shrink from self-inquiry out of fear because who knows what unsavory thing you might unearth, right? But yogis are different. We are inner warriors, and we don't flinch from self-honesty. And because of this, we're able to transform ourselves. So self-knowledge is the prerequisite, right, to evolution. And knowing your biggest obstacle, it is the most powerful knowledge you can have that will accelerate. It's the greatest accelerator of your dreams, right? Because we're all the biggest bottleneck for our progress. And the more precise your knowledge of your obstacle, right, whether it's in the form of habits, traits, character traits, beliefs, what is your biggest obstacle right now? I would love for you to type it in the chat right now. What do you know is one of your biggest obstacles right now? And this takes, I know, courage to type in that. But I will say right now, I think my biggest obstacle used to be like, what will people think? What will people think? And I've gotten over that by like leaning against my discomfort zone over and over and over again. And I think it's something like before announcing this masterclass, I had to mull over and over, like, am I ready to do this? Is it too soon? What will people think? It's like so late in January, and all these thoughts like, what will people think? That was a huge obstacle, and passivity with social media. Gotcha, Layla. I totally get this. And as being a fellow introvert, as I suspect you are, big obstacle is that too many choices and must decide on a focus. Okay, yep. So it's time to, and one hack I want to share with everybody is when you have a decision that is really hard to make, do a little kinesiology test, a self-kinesiology test. Do you know how to do this? So you take your non-dominant hand, for me it's my left hand, you take your least dominant finger and connect it with your thumb like this. Okay. And then there's many other ways to do kinesiology, but this is one of the ways. And then you try to keep them connected and you try to separate it, right? So, and I take a statement that I know is absolutely true. Like, my name is Mariko. My name is Mariko. My body absolutely knows that's true and it stays connected, right? But if I say, my name is Lisa, it just doesn't hold. And I'm applying the same amount of energy force to try to separate this. So my name is Mariko, my name is Lisa. Yeah, so then you also want to just, this is called grounding, anchoring the yes and no in your physiology. And so I'll say to my body, like, give me a sign for yes. Okay, it stays connected no matter, I'm really using a lot of force. And give me a sign for no. Okay, and I do this. So this way I have made some, big decisions, just asking my body, because it's sometimes, it's so impossible to figure it out with your mind. And, I do go through the rational, pros and cons and all of that. But then when I realize, okay, and then I ask my intuition and I still not clear, often my body will tell me, like, I will ask myself, is this a good property to invest in? No, and as if my body says no, I just don't question it usually, is this, so in the coming days, like, I have a flight planned on the 20th, and I bought the ticket really long ago, and I'm like, is this a flight good to move forward to? So I'll be doing that kinesiology test, I tell you. But it's a good way to make decisions sometimes that you cannot figure out. So let's just give you a shortcut for that, William. So good. Can you see it? Yes. So this is how I do. One of the kinesiology ways is to do that. Right? And this is not a kinesiology class. I want to just share with you one little hack. Great. So let's move forward. Okay, so the other thing that is imperative. So first, don't overload your calendar, right? Be essentialist and do the hardest thing first. This has also been a revolutionary, shift for me, is to start the day by doing the hardest thing first, because the thing that I avoid is the thing that I have most resistance towards. And I learned this from the wonderful book by Stephen Pressfield, The Art of War. The War of Art. Yeah, The War of Art, sorry. The War of Art. And so he says that we tend to avoid the thing that has the most potential to transform our lives. We have the most resistance for it because the ego resists it because it knows if we do this thing, you're going to transform, you're going to become a new person, right? Because you're facing your fear. And the ego is very invested in keeping the old paradigm, right? So yeah, The War of Art, that's the name of the book, The War of Art. So follow up and follow through. Yeah, absolutely. So if you know your biggest obstacle, so maybe it's like do that follow up thing first in the day. I look at my to-do list and I go, what's the hardest thing? What's the hardest thing? Invariably, it's the number one most important thing. And so I put it at the very top and I start my day with that. And that has made a huge difference. And then everything else is easier. There's a saying like, if you want an easy life, do hard things. That's a brain tattoo. It's a great brain tattoo. If you want an easy life, do hard things. And so ever since I started doing my like level 3 yoga practice in the morning, wow, everything else seems so much easier. Like everything else is so much easier because I've done the hardest practice first thing in the morning, right? Also, it used to be hard for me to write my book. It was like, I've been procrastinating it for months and years. And finally, like, do that thing first. And it really changed. It gave me so much self-confidence and self-belief also. So do the hardest thing first, right? And then key number 5 is install a world-class morning and evening ritual. This is living the yoga of discipline. And, we all have associations with the word discipline. Like we might see like the schoolmaster, or, we might envision a military, or, the word discipline can have very negative connotation, like some authoritarian voice that you've internalized, right? But I'm talking about the yogic discipline, which is, in this truest sense of the word, born from the word disciple, right? Discipleship. It seems to be a controversy in the West because in general, the West does not understand the guru-disciple relationship, does not understand what a guru is, does not understand what a guru disciple is either. Disciple is, someone who pursues an endeavor for the pure love of it, right? Out of the pure dedication, out of pure joy of it. And so I want to invite you to really look at discipline with new eyes. Discipline is the source of joy. Discipline is the giver of freedom, personal freedom, truly. Whether you want financial freedom, location freedom, creative freedom, emotional freedom, right? Discipline is the way. And so, rising, you want to rise early and meditate to get to know that part of yourself, that deeper part of yourself. That's why a yogi meditates. And, yogi looks forward to that time of meditation. It's not like, I got to do it. It's something he or she really looks forward to. There's a fire in him or her, devotion, right? It's out of bhakti, devotion. And so start associating discipline with true devotion, and not the martyr kind of devotion either, the joyous devotion, the joyous devotion, the discipline that is light. And so install the world-class morning and evening ritual. Let's recap those 5 keys because I think they're very important. So pardon the mess here, but I think it's important to review and recap because here we go. So make decision making a habit, connect with your why, right? Light a fire under your vision. Know your biggest obstacles. Do the hardest thing first, right? Install a world-class morning and evening ritual. And, install one ritual at a time. You don't have to, try to do everything all at once, but one, like if it's meditation, just that consistent meditation, then you add on one more thing, maybe journaling, right? So hope this, because this is the foundation that allows you to take, to really execute on your plans, because a lot of the things on your plans will likely have things that you need to be in the right mindset to do, right heart set to do. And you need a world-class, like you need to start your day with the right consciousness, and we need to insulate from all the disruptive news that will be coming our way, undoubtedly. So hope this valuable for you guys. What was like one takeaway that really struck out for you? Because I believe in doing this every time I do something like this, because I want you to really take something away from this. So what was the most valuable that from this time together? Yeah, Mitesh, Tracy, identify the essential. Okay, William. So I highly recommend you read the Essentialism, the book Essentialism. Put it on your reading list. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, Gloria, fantastic. And so, I have nothing on sale today for today's webinar, and I just really wanted to share my value. But I do have one invitation, and that is because I know that, some of you are in my membership, some of you are not. And I want to just, get your permission to share my invitation with you. It's nothing for sale, but do I have your permission to share my invitation with you? Thanks, William. Appreciate it. Fantastic, fantastic. Okay, thanks, Lila. Thank you. Appreciate it, Judy. Okay, so I just have a complimentary session, because one of my joys in doing what I do is to really be your partner in believing. And I really feel this year so strongly that it's vital. It's vital. It's not like a luxury to have a vision. It's really vital, a survivalist thing, to have a clear vision, and to have whatever support you need. I want to be your partner in supporting, and you want to be laser focused this year, because I've heard from so many people, it's just really easy to get stuck, in the mass mentality of just the upheaval and the freak out and all of this that is happening. And so it really is my joy and honor to be your partner in believing. I believe it's one of my strengths. I did a strength finder test, and two of my strengths is to see, to be clear, to see the vision clearly for people, and the other is belief. So if you don't quite yet believe in your vision yet, like, you can borrow my believing, you can borrow my belief. And I have had hired mentors to help me, like, really hold my vision for me. And it is, I've been in masterminds to help me just stay in that place of self-belief, because that has been like the break or make kind of company that I kept. And so I would love to be that for you. If you would like to have a vision accelerator session with me, I've kind of stopped offering free sessions just because my time has become so precious. But just because, out of my commitment to wanting to be of service to you, and of the kind of crazy times that we're in, I am offering completely free session. And I just want to ask you to just only put a calendar time down, sign up for the session, only if you're going to really commit to showing up and being, like, commit to showing up and play full out. And I will show up as if it is a paid session, because this is, what I am paid to do. And I have been coaching and supporting and mentoring people for a long time. And it's my joy to always hear your vision, to help you, to take a stand for it for you, and to, help you identify your obstacles and really come up with to help you with your 90-day plan. So if you'd like, you just go to this link, visionaryyoga.com 2021, visionaryyoga.com /2021. And that's really my main call to action today. And I would love to just, go deeper into your vision with you and to see, where you might be your own biggest bottleneck, because we all are, and how can we, release that. And sometimes it is a healing on a cellular level. Sometimes it is a releasing of blocks, mental blocks, emotional blocks. Sometimes it's a resource, and I'll make recommendations for those. So I'll just put this in the chat here. Yeah. So please, I won't have this on forever because I am planning to go to, hopefully, if I can make this trip happen, pray for me all that because I'm supposed to be going to Mexico, right where I have my property. And take care of some things there. And so this is a very, very turbulent time of the year. Let's hold the vision for the peaceful transition of power, and that also this earth. There's a lot of volcanic eruptive energy that can cause earthquakes. We've seen already earthquake in Indonesia. So let's pray for peace on earth and peace for United States, prosperity for this country and for everyone inhabiting this planet Earth, so that and I'm sure that your vision realized will really contribute to a better world. And so that's why I'm here doing this session, and I hope you found it useful. Thank you so much. I'm planning to right now I don't have a teaching plan, but I may make an invitation if any of you are brave enough to come down to Mexico. I may do private sessions, so I'll make those VIP sessions available probably in Mexico. It's going to be beautiful in the Riviera Maya, Playa del Carmen area, and I'll be in Akumal, which is where the turtles are in the nature reserve. And I can't wait for my condo to be done, and so I can share, have retreats there, and look forward to more stable times where we can actually have yoga retreats and whatnot. And I'll be sure to, I'll be the first to, jump when the world is safe enough for us to travel and have retreats together. But I want to thank you all so much for being visionaries, wishing you a beautiful Martin Luther King Day. Let's take that visionary step, bold steps. Let's make that 90-day plan and plan to have it executed and have your vision come true this year. So thank you so much, Francis, Kathy, Judy. Namaste, everybody. And please do, make that, book your time if you feel called to have that session with me. I'm going to sign off here with a swaha and a thank you to everybody for holding the space for this session. Namaste, everybody. Take good care. Bye for now. Okay.